All right, so in this video, we're going to have a quick look at how you can calculate your food costs from your P&L. So this is just a very simple calculation. If you wanted to do it more accurately, there's a couple of things you'd need to do. Firstly, you really need to make sure that if there's any cash involved in the business, that's being added into these figures and being allowed for. And also the second thing to remember is that if you want to do a completely accurate stock take, you need to know what the opening stock was, what the closing stock was as well. So that would involve doing a stock take and working out what kind of value of stock you're holding versus what you started with and working the difference out. So that's pretty involved. It is something that I used to do periodically, but really just as a quick snapshot, sort of every week or every couple of weeks, you certainly want to be checking through the P&Ls and through the financials just to see exactly where your food cost percentage sits. So this is a very simplified version of doing that. As I said, you can get more complex and more involved if you wish to. So really making sure that your food costs are where they are is got several benefits. So firstly, you're going to be able to identify any changes or any issues early on. So if you start doing this regularly, you're going to get to see a pattern, you're going to get to understand where your food cost percentage should be, and you're going to know straight away if something's wrong. And when you do pick up on that, obviously that's then going to allow you to drill down on any issues that you find. So the typical issues that you might find could be that you've been overcharged for something, that you've lost some stock, or there's been too much waste. So really important that you're on top of this. It's, you know, it should go without saying, but it's really important that you do know your numbers, because that's then going to give you more confidence that you're being as profitable as you can be, and you know you've got peace of mind that really that if there is anything that is wrong, it's going to show it up by doing this, and you're going to be able to fix it fairly quickly. Also, it's a good idea to communicate the results to your key staff. So particularly if you've got a kitchen team, so the head chef or second chef, and also front of house managers as well. So people that, you know, your key team members, they should know these figures and they should know how they can influence and how they can change them as well. So we'll go into more detail in other videos about things you can do if you find there's a problem with your food cost percentage. But this really just is a quick look at how we can work those numbers out for you nice and quick. All right, let's jump in and have a quick look at a sample P&L. So in this example here, you can see we've got two sections I've just cut from the P&L. Up the top there, you've got trading income, and you'll notice for this month, at this time, this is being recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic. So you can see the JobKeeper subsidy kicks in there. So for the purpose of this video, we're not going to include that because we want to see what the true food cost percentage is, excluding those government payments. So they are on the P&L, but for this purpose, as we go through, you're going to see that I leave those out. If you then look further down at the cost of sales, you can see this P&L is laid out pretty well. So this is covering lots of different sections inside the cost of goods. The cost of goods is basically anything that is an expense to the business in order to produce the food. So you can see in this example, we've got cleaning in there as well, and we've also got packaging in there. The others are just broken down into categories so that it's easier to break down and see exactly what income and what expenses come from each line there. So key numbers, as I mentioned, you're looking to find your total income for the period that you're working over, and I would suggest you want to be doing this over at least a couple of weeks to allow for sort of buying patterns and stock movement and so on. Ideally, you want to be doing this at least monthly, if not, as I said, every 2 weeks. The other figure you want to be looking is the cost of sales, the total cost of goods down the bottom there. Once you've got those two numbers, it's a very simple calculation. All you're going to do is you're going to divide the cost, so your cost of sales figure, by the net sales figure. Now, it is important that that figure is net. The figures we just looked at, that's an extract from zero. So if you're taking it from your accounting software, whether that's MYOB, QuickBooks, Xero, whatever it is, then you don't need to worry about taking the GST off because it already will, in the P&L format, exclude any GST. If you are working out manually, or if you're allowing for cash, then you need to take that GST off before you do that. You should always calculate this figure based on your net sales, not the gross sales. So the cost of goods in the previous example on that P&L were 52,879 and the sales 169,235. So if we said just divide that 52 by the 169, that gives you 0.312. And then all you're going to do from there to work out that percentage is multiply the result by 100. So you take the 0.312 multiplied by 100, and that gives you 31.2, which means your cost of goods or your cost of sales, however you want to phrase it, is 31.2%. So this is one of my one-on-one clients. This is a fairly typical month for him. Pretty good result. We're normally aiming around the 31, 32%, which is pretty good. It does sometimes, it can go slightly higher than that. It'll go down to 29 at some points, and maybe up to 33, 34 sometimes, depending on, you know, buying patterns. And if, say for example, if you've you know, as you do this, or one month you might buy a lot of alcohol, or some very high cost goods, you might buy something in bulk. So it will fluctuate, but as long as you are doing this and you're checking it, you're going to know through the operation of the business that you've purchased an excessive amount of something, or you've bought something in bulk. So as I said, really good process to get into, and just something that you should be doing every 2 to 4 weeks, just to keep an eye on it and make sure you know where you're at. So I hope that helps. Hope that makes sense. As always, if there are any questions or anything you're not sure about, feel free to post in the comments below, and I'll do my best to come back to you, and we'll see what we can do to help you. All right, any questions, feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.